I have come to the conclusion that what we perceive as a timeline is simply an illusion. There is another time-space continuum of which we are not aware. About 1967, I was flying a Cessna 207, which is a cargo aircraft. When I was headed from Wichita, Kansas to Dallas, Texas, and from there to Lubbock to deliver some supplies for dealer meetings.
So what happened when you were flying on that last leg of the journey? What did you experience? Give us the backstory.
Left about 1 o'clock. And
in the afternoon?
In the afternoon, and had been in the air, climbed up to about 4,500 feet, leveled off. It was a nice, cool, beautiful day, and I expected a flight of maybe a couple of hours to Lubbock, Texas. And just as soon as I leveled off, a red light came on the instrument panel, and you don't want a red light to come on the instrument panel. And so I quickly started checking and discovered that I was not producing any electrical current, and I had a choice at that point to either turn around and go back to Dallas or fly ahead to Lubbock. And so I shut down the whole electrical system and headed for Lubbock because the engine, having its own electrical system, would keep me going.
You're flying along and you lose electrical power. And then shortly after that, you hear an audible voice.
And the voice was as plain and clear as your voice is right now. And the voice said, if you look to your left, you'll see a UFO.
Just like that?
Like that. It announced itself. And I laughed, and I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And I looked to my left, and about a mile away was a little bright light, like a star, flying at my same altitude and apparently about my same speed, just right along with me. And I said, that's not a UFO, that's another airplane, and the sun is reflecting off its wings, and it just looks like a UFO. And I noticed after a few minutes it was getting a little bit closer, and I figured, well, we're on a converging course. We must both be headed for Lubbock. That would put us together. About that time, we both flew under a cloud deck, and it got very dark. He still shone as brightly as if he were out in the sun. I said, wait a minute, that can't happen. Must be a UFO. And as soon as I thought that thought, this thing flew over right beside me.
Whoa.
And it came up to within about 100 feet of my left wing and parked there. We were flying in formation. And it was about 100 feet in diameter, I figure about 12 feet thick. It had a beautiful radial design of light, bars of light on the upper surface and on the lower surface, and it was just a thing of beauty. It's just the most beautiful thing I had ever seen in my life. And when I settled down after 2 or 3 seconds and looking at this thing, that is the most wonderful thing I've ever been close to. And I felt this incredible elation or excitement and almost a feeling of peace. In fact, all the time that it was beside me, I felt that it could penetrate my thoughts. I felt as though I were being probed or investigated. At the same time, I was elated. I had an incredible feeling of elation, like this thing is here to help almost, and I had no idea what that meant. So I was edging ever closer to it, and I was down to maybe 75 feet, 50 feet.
That's very close.
25 feet, and I looked at it very closely to see if I could see any rivets or fasteners or whatever.
Right.
And I saw nothing.
Nothing. Seamless.
Seamless.
What material was it made out of?
Beautiful metal and
was it metal?
It looked like a polished metal of some sort.
Dull, shiny?
Shiny, very shiny. Just absolutely the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And I got down, I think, probably within 25 feet of it, and at that point, it departed in a hurry. In about less than 1 second, it went back to its original position, a mile south of me, And it banked the wrong way. It didn't even bank like an airplane will bank this way. This thing banked the wrong way and scooted back to its original position. And there it flew alongside me. The next thing that happened was that I looked out the windshield and there was Lubbock Field. And right ahead of me, perhaps no more than 10, 12 miles away. And I thought, wow, we're here already. It seemed like it was too soon. But nevertheless, I flipped my power back on, had enough battery power to call the tower, make my landing. I landed at Lubbock, turned off the runway, went over to the Cessna dealership, turned the airplane off and looked through my windshield. And I could look back to the east and there was this thing hanging in the sky, waiting until I had landed.
Is it possible that the space-time continuum as we know it, somehow those properties which we take for granted were changed, so that what seemed to you like a few minutes, because you just stated that, oh wow, here's Lubbock, it shouldn't be here.
That's right.
From your perspective, and yet from the perspective of the Cessna guy, the guy that's waiting for you, you're 4 hours late.
Yes.
Is it possible?
I was in the air for something like, if you go from 1:30 maybe to as late as 6:30, that's 5 hours. And that airplane
Can't do that.
Can't do that. 4 hours max.
So what do you attribute that to?
I have no idea. Having thought about this for many, many years, I have come to the conclusion that what we perceive as a timeline is simply an illusion. Mm-hmm. That is to say, there is another time-space continuum of which we are not aware. And it can shift in and out of our dimension, and I actually saw it happen. I attribute the hand of God to this whole incident because it was a mind-expanding, mind-opening incident for me that changed the course of my life.
How can one discern one UFO from another? We know that some of the occupants of these craft, allegedly, when we've talked to abductees, you're taken, you're probed, implants are put in, and the people that are experiencing this experience exactly the opposite of what you've told us.
Right.
Not gladness, not joy, not a feeling of peace, a feeling of great fear, alarm, evil, all those. How do we discern the difference? Is there any way that you can point to?
Again, I'm not an expert. I'm someone who had an experience.
And no one is.
I am a percipient and not an expert. I was right in the middle of the whole thing, and I'm very subjective about what happened. But my view is that yes, there are very dark forces. They are fallen angels. They have virtually the same capacities as the good angels who didn't fall. They are the principalities, powers, rulers of darkness of this world the Bible speaks about. But there are also good angels. I'm absolutely convinced of that, and I'm utterly convinced to my dying day this was one of them, and that I'm here today because of something that good angel did.